Hey, how's it going?
Peachy Keen, how are you today?
Oh, doing okay. My one day off this week, trying to make the most of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, have you you've never participated in the traveling nurse program, have you?
I have not, no, but I do have some colleagues who do or who have.
What do you know about the piece of it that relates to housing and the housing stipend?
Yeah. So the way it works is if they do it through an agency, they tell them the location at which they wanted to live. The agency finds openings at the various hospitals that are in that area, and they either negotiate or they have a pre-negotiated price that they're willing to compensate agency nurses. Of course, the agency itself gets a cut from it, but whatever that rate is, they get that. And then on top of that, if they're moving from out of state, they get a housing stipend that's supplied by the agency as well. So in other words, their housing gets subsidized from.
So do you know of any of them that actually the hospital itself, the HR department actually partnering with an apartment complex to say, look, we need 5 units and we'll pay for those, whether they're occupied or not. And they take care of, you're actually leasing to the hospital,
To
not
the hospital
to the
itself?
individual nurses.
You know, I haven't heard of that happening, but now that you bring that up, there are certain institutions that have like residency programs where they may be able to provide housing for those residents off-site, so that it's close by the hospital. That may be an option that I think some people have done before. But as far as specific to traveling nurses, the hospital negotiating with an apartment owner directly, I haven't heard of that. If anything, I would think it would be talking to the agency itself.
So do the hospitals work exclusively usually with one agency or just any agency?
My impression is it's any agency because they just need to get their spots filled so that they have adequate staffing. And whoever can provide them with that type of staffing, that's who they end up working with. And I'm assuming like it also just depends on who's willing to accept the rate that the hospital's willing to pay, and you know, those other factors too. But that's the impression that I have.
And do you know if HR usually has a point person that's specific to the traveling nurse program, or a point person who's specific just to nurses?
You know, I'm not sure about that, and I can look into that for you and find that out, because I do know that if you're a nurse that's trying to get placed somewhere and you're trying to work with an agency, there is a point person that you contact with, but that's not to say that the agency itself doesn't have multiple, you know, recruiters on board too. So I can look into that for you from those people who have had experience or currently are traveling right now too.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's a play that maybe is being under, I don't want to say underdeveloped, but underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
know it's that model's worked really well with like short-term rentals, at the very least, especially in travel destinations like Hawaii or you know, something similar.
and from the people that you've known or talked to, do they usually prefer furnished or unfurnished places?
The people that I've talked to, they prefer furnished, and oftentimes they try and maximize their take home by selecting a place that's small enough for them. So oftentimes they're renting out like a room out of either a single family home or with roommates in a single unit. Actually, one of my friends, he actually took a travel contract in Chicago, and I don't know how he did it, but he stayed at his parents' house and he pocketed the housing stipend while staying in Chicago while living in Chicago. So
Yeah, I guess you just have to, I would imagine they're going to do enough homework to look at your background enough to
yeah,
know that that you're a resident or not resident. So if you can establish residency somewhere else, I don't know how long you have to be established. So theoretically, if you have multiple locations, like parents have a house in Phoenix, you know, you could establish a residency there and then, yeah,
right,
get
right.
around the system, so to speak. But
Yeah, yeah, but I'll look into that for you. See if there's a point person that works directly with the hospitals.
interesting. So, all right, gentlemen, I don't have an agenda. I have been asking if everyone wants to work from an agenda, or if everyone likes the just open boardroom discussion, and you know, just try to stay on topic as much as we can. But there's not too many of us, so I'm happy to talk about anything specific that anyone wants to. But and more importantly, I guess, is really just to ask if someone is in a capital raise or expects to be in one soon, how can we best utilize our platform to help us become better at this and you know, accelerate that learning curve. So anybody have a deal that they're raising capital on right now? Daryl, did you wind up on the you can just shake your head yes or no. Did you wind up on the deal in Vicksburg?
Yes,
And did you guys close already?
yes, they closed, and they're still, as far as I know, I do believe they should have also closed the second raise. So the first raise is closed. The second raise should be closed, should have closed Friday.
So why did they have two raises?
The second raise was for capital expenditures. They needed to continue to raise a little more money. So they said they would just continue to raise after the closing.
Okay, so it really was just one raise.
Yeah.
But they had enough to close.
Yeah.
But not enough to complete the everything that they needed for the business plan.
Correct.
And just, okay, all right, gotcha. So are you still actively trying to raise for that deal, or are you on to the next thing?
Well, if anyone wants to, yes, answer your question, yes. If anyone would like to still get in on it, yes, which I'm still raising. But I've also moved on to where I'm starting to look for my next opportunity.
Okay. Anyone else in a capital raise or anticipating getting into one soon?
Well, I actually just wanted to confirm if everyone's still using, taking advantage of that deal with Syndication Pro through the GOB network, or if you guys have ended up going with a different platform since then.
The only platform that I'm familiar with is Syndication Pro. But I didn't know that I didn't know that there was a special program that we could sign up with.
Yeah. Yeah, Jared Ash negotiated on behalf of the GOB network a 30% discount with Syndication Pro. Okay. And I know Michael and Susie just signed up for it. So they're switching over from Groundbreaker.
Okay, good. Yeah, I signed up with them today too as well.
Yeah. Did you? So yeah. I would reach out to Perry Zhang. Perry has built his own investor portal, and he wanted to. I think it's still kind of where Badre is with his platform. In other words, it's still young enough that if you're on board with him and it's missing something, or you feel like something you'd like to see a little extra feature, I think he's still very open to a lot of input. So if you're looking for a platform that, and my guess is it's going to be cheaper than the others, would be my guess. But I would at least log on to his website, take a look at it. I think I posted like an introduction to Perry on the Slack channel.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And like Syndication Pro, Perry's an experienced investor. Syndication Pro was built by investors. So a lot of the things that are in there are there because the one key piece of Syndication Pro that I think is different from most others is that they allow you to, each capital raiser on the team has like their own channel. So you can segment and keep separate your investors from the whole. And that came directly out of people that are syndicating and trying to protect their investors, so to speak, or in their database, and wanting to keep it private. So I don't know how Perry handles that, but I would be surprised if he doesn't have something along the same lines.
Well, Osbert also had mentioned that the Reg CF, if people are interested in opening one of those up, they should have that integration in Q4 of this year.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
For people who are interested in utilizing Reg CF instead of like a 506B or 506C or whatever it may be, then Syndication Pro will also integrate that into their CRM as well by Q4 of this year.
Okay, gotcha. So you're saying that more or less you can use Syndication Pro as a platform to advertise your CF.
Yes.
Okay.
The Vicksburg deal their platform is different than is much different than Syndication Pro. I do like Syndication Pro because it does keep the investors separate, but with the Vicksburg deal, all of the investors are together. And matter of fact, someone on the team reached out to one of I'm talking a little can. To one of my investors, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. But I said, okay, no problem.
What is the old saying? No honor amongst thieves. So I'll be honest with you guys. I've got a ton of stuff on my platter right now, and my mind is in 100 different places. So I'm looking for some feedback in today's call. somebody have a discussion point, something that they'd like to talk about.
Well, hey, I'll jump in with something
you.
very elementary.
Save me.
We are at very early stages at capital raising, and part of the struggle is how exactly do we have these initial conversations, because there are so many details about investing in a syndication, and many of them are getting into the weeds. So how do you go with, how do you approach an acquaintance, somebody you know, somebody that's not come to you directly as a real estate investor, but somebody in your friends and family network, and begin that conversation without,
Salesy or pitchy?
Well, yeah, that, and without diving into the weeds so far that you just lose them.
Yeah.
Because the advantages are in those weeds, in those details. The real advantages are, but I don't think you can start with that.
No, you're absolutely right. And I've been a real estate investor for a long time, since the 1990s. But when I got sick with kidney disease, it knocked me on my back for at least a long time, I would say. But I built, during the time that I was sick, I started my own travel agency company, right? And I built a big clientele. So here recently, I said, I need to reach out to them. So what I did, I took it from, when I departed the travel company, I let all my clients know that I'm giving up travel, and I'm going back to real estate and stuff like that. So when I reached out to them here recently, and it's been about maybe, I don't know, probably about a year or so, I reached out to them with the attitude of, your old, your to all my travel partners, your old travel agent, excuse me, and I'm just wanted to give you an update. I made it like an update. Let me tell you what I'm doing now, and if anyone was interested, to learn more, then here's the link. Schedule some time with me so we could talk about it. So I used that approach to try to get the conversation going. And those who did not reply back saying, please remove me from your mailing list, right? Then I know I'm going to keep feeding them. But what I'm going to do during the next couple of weeks, I am going to be educating them on being a passive investor. So I took the passive investor course with Justin Kevel. Now I'm going to put it to work, and I'm just going to educate them on being a passive investor. What does it mean, and so forth. And I did have a couple of people from my travel partners that did schedule appointments with me to discuss this further.
Okay. That makes sense.
I'll chime in and say that I think the first thing you have to do is identify, you need to put people in buckets, so you need to start building that flow chart, and you need to, what's the very first question in the flow chart? For my mind, it's, are you an investor of any type? So if you don't already know that about the person, that's the very first thing you have to determine is, are you an investor, yes or no? And if it's a yes, then the next question is, what do you invest in? And of course, you have to build your letter or your drip campaign around the question. You have to put it in your words. But if you know they're an investor, whether they're investing in stocks or bonds or gold or oil fields or real estate, or they have a, do you have it? So I want to find out if they're an investor. Then have you ever invested in real estate? If they don't tell me yes or no, voluntarily, then the next thing is, have you invested in real estate outside of your personal home? Do you own a second home? Do you own a rental home? Have you ever invested as in a REIT? Have you ever invested as a limited partner or a passive investor? I want to know those kinds of things. And I don't want to overwhelm them with more than one idea at a time. But your friends and family, you probably know more about. So you may already know the first 10 questions, and you may be able to skip ahead. You may know, for instance, that the doctors or lawyers or other high net worth or high income earners in your network probably have a tax problem. So I'm going to concentrate around that piece and try to figure out, number one, do you have a tax problem? And the reality is we all have a tax problem, right? We just don't necessarily believe we do. The first time I met Brad Sumrock, I think was 2017, and he was bragging to me that he had almost reached his one of his lifetime goals. And I go, oh, what's that? And he goes, he wanted to pay $1 million in taxes. And he said that last year he paid 980 something thousand in taxes. And I'm like, well, you're a real estate investor. Why would you pay so much in taxes?
Yeah, exactly.
So that it told me two things. Number one, you can be wildly successful even in this business and still not understand all of the pieces of the business. So this is a guy that for years and years and years had been teaching people to become apartment investors, but had never really taken advantage of the big tax benefits. It was all about, how do you get an apartment building? How do you reposition it, add value, and turn around and sell it and reap your profits? And his goal was to do that so much that he owed $1 million in taxes. So of course he never made it to $1 million, because the next year he met what's his name, Rich Dad Poor Dad tax advisor,
Tom Wheelwright.
Tom Wheelwright. The next year he met Tom Wheelwright. He was actually at the syndication at sea with the real estate guys, and they were both speakers at that year. I think it was 2018, and he was listening to Tom give his speech about you should be paying zero in taxes if you're a real estate investor. And so he wound up going with Wheelwright. He paid Wheelwright, I think he said 50 grand just to have to get on his client list. So I think you've got to pay at least 50 grand just to talk to Wheelwright. But it wound up saving him, close to $1 million. So we can't automatically assume that the tax advantages might not be the key to unlocking everyone's interest in this particular asset. But I think that we can naturally assume the more money someone makes, the more likely it is that might be the trigger that gets them interested, as opposed to someone else in the family. It might be passive wealth. They hate their job, but they're good at their job. You hear them complaining all the time about their job. So for them, the idea of creating passive income might be the path that you have to take. Or for somebody else, creating generational wealth. They're a little bit older, and maybe you know them well enough to know that they are really passionate about family and passionate about trying to leave something behind. And so you could make your pitch about how to create generational wealth using real estate. So I think it's just the sooner you can identify how they want to be pitched, that'll dictate, you'll know what to do. So it's just a matter of figuring out which bucket they're in.
Do we get the step up in basis with passive investments in real estate when someone passes away, if they're invested as a limited partner?
Let me back up and say, are we talking about you own real estate and you pass away and you're going to leave it to someone?
Yeah, well, if we have an investor that is a passive investor that makes an investment and they pass away, their owning an interest in real estate, so they would get the step up in basis, or the heirs would get the step up in basis at that point, I would think.
So it depends on how the real estate is left to them, right? How you set
Yeah.
up the, right, so that's an asset protection question.
Yeah.
And so it depends on how it's left to them. Is it left to them in a trust? Is it left to them did they receive it in probate? You know, did they decide to gift it to them ahead of time? You know, so I know
It happened last week. So it happened about the 13th of last week. So like me and Tammy, I don't know if somebody else, but me and Tammy have orders that are asking for reschedulings or something like that. A couple orders like for mine's slipped in process, but for the most part, we just held steady, not processing, because we already have parts in the bins. No need to transfer more orders when these orders might come back.
I think Aaron's not
Oh,
talking to us.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how
I'm
that
trying to
relates.
figure out the flow there, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Let me,
You know,
let me
speaking of
mute.
the real estate
Aaron.
guys, and I'm actually going to their summit, How to Win Funds and Influence People, in May. It's an in-person one.
Are
So
you?
hopefully I'll learn lots of tidbits that I can upload to the site.
Whose is that, Trevor? I missed it.
The radio guys, they're doing.
Oh, okay.
I went to their syndication one, and it was not a lot of new information, but they offered this at a special if you bought it that day while I was there. So it's a live in-person event in Dallas in May.
Yeah.
I like
Now,
the
Chris.
nod to Dale Carnegie there.
Yeah. Now, Chris, for me, what I did, because I am in on 2 deals. So I'm in on the 2 deals, but it's my LLC, it's not me. So all my family members, my wife and my 2 kids, they're board members. If anything happens to me, and it says it specifically in my operating agreement, that if anything happens to me, then my wife and my son would take charge. Now, when on the 2 deals that I'm on, that's all under my LLC. So the LLC is going to stay there because it's an entity. But my family will continue to collect the dividends from whatever real estate that my LLC invests in.
So
So
the,
I could pass away today or tomorrow, and
yeah.
they taken care of.
Yeah, so that doesn't answer though the question, Daryl, about the step up in basis. So the step up in basis is going to dictate how much they owe in taxes. And so if you have something set up, an entity or a trust where the real estate never changes hands, then whatever you owed, that entity owed, it doesn't change.
Right.
But if you died and you gave them the real estate, if you passed it on to them, then they could avoid taxes. Let's say you bought it at 100 and now it's at 1,000,000 or 1,000, whatever. You owe that 900 in taxes. You know, you have to pay taxes on the 900. But if you died and passed it on to them, their tax basis starts at the 1,000, not at the 100.
Right.
And so I think that is more directly related to the question Chris was asking.
Right.
Chris, is that correct? Or
Yeah, that's correct. So if someone invests as a limited partner into a syndication, they are owning real estate, and however their will is states that interest in that syndication goes to whomever, I would think they would get the step up in basis.
yeah,
So
I would assume that's true unless it's in a trust.
Right.
If it's in a trust, then I'm going to say, even if it's in an LLC, if Krellin and you are on the same LLC that owns that LP share, and you pass away, then Krellin's not going to get a step up in basis because the 2 of you don't really own it technically the LLC owns it. So the
Yeah.
LLC is not getting any step up in basis. But if you had in your will that you wanted to gift or give it to Krellin at your time of death, my guess is, and this is an asset protection question for an asset protection attorney, but my guess is you'd have to open a new LLC that Krellin is on by himself. And then the old LLC can then gift it to him, and he would have a new step up in basis.
Yeah, but
That
thinking
would be
about
my-
an investor,
Yeah, that would be my guess.
yeah.
You know,
So thinking about our investors, most of investors are, correct me if I'm wrong, but are they investing just in their personal name?
the vast majority of them are, yes.
So then that would be a strategy for them if they wanted a certain amount of their assets to be in real estate so they could take advantage. Their heirs would take advantage of the step up in basis.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't experience with other assets, these Wall Street assets.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good lead in for some people, I would
Yep.
think.
Especially the older they are.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, if they're interested in that generational wealth aspect
Yep.
of it.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't yet figured out. Let me Google this real quickly. How much money is in CDs?
Oh. Making 0.015. They're losing money.
Okay. If anybody knows or finds it before me, I'm trying to figure out how much money is in CDs in this country right now that are still, you know, and it doesn't matter. I think you guys, if I find the answer, you're going to be shocked at the answer. I know I was, and I continue to be every single year. And I'm not finding it right now, so I'm not going to waste a ton of time doing it. But if you can figure out how to connect with people like that, then that to me is a pot of gold.
Yeah.
Those are people that right now we know they're earning nothing, but it's kind of like putting your money under the mattress. They feel very, very confident, very safe and secure in that CD. And they are not the kind of people that would normally invest. They're not the kind of people that would normally be in the stock market. And that's a pot of gold, because right now they're earning 1%, 2%.
Yeah.
And that's if they're in a long, like a 5-year, 10-year CD. If they're in a 1-year CD, they're probably earning less than 1%. And so people like that, you could, my drip campaign to them, or my letter, my first intro would be trying to figure out how can I have a discussion with them about something that's even safer than their CD, because it's backed by a physical asset and could pay them double, triple, quadruple what they're making in their CD. You don't need to make them passive investors, and good luck trying to make them passive investors, because quite honestly, their risk profile, I don't think you're going to convince too many of them to become LPs. But what you could convince them of is to become note investors. And you could double, triple their earnings per month and save you a ton of money. So if you are paying the rest of your LPs 17% IRR, and you've got somebody that's a note investor at 8%, which one's cheaper money? Absolutely the note investor. That's locked in. They don't get any of the upside. It's kind of like, I've got a friend of mine who, she only offers 2 ways to invest. You're either a pref investor or you're an equity investor. You get to participate in all the upside, but you don't get paid until we sell. Or You get paid every month, but you never get any of the upside. So I'll give you a 7 pref or an 8 pref, but that's all you're ever going to make. So you're only limited in how you raise money and how you structure your deal by your own beliefs and your own creativity.
Mm.
You know, most people that I tell that to that have been raising money for a long time are like, nobody, you would never be able to sell that to investors. But she's been doing it for 15 years.
Really?
Or take somebody like, how many here know Tim Bratz?
Heard of him.
I've heard of
Okay.
it.
So Tim, how would you feel if I brought you a deal and I said that you know most of the deals everybody's putting together are what, 70-30, 75-25, 80-20. Okay. Some people are even doing 90-10s.
Mm.
How interested would you be to invest in my deal if I came to you and I said that it's 60-40, or not 60-40, I'm sorry, 40-60? Meaning that I get 60% and you limited investors get 40.
I don't know. Would people feel that it's being greedy?
Okay, if you feel it's greedy, how about we do 50-50? Does that make it any better? Tim
Okay.
Bratz never takes less than 50%.
Really? And he's
Never
still,
takes less than 50%.
but
And
he's generating returns to the investor of 14-17% IRR.
he's selling returns. He's not selling real estate. So to his investors, and this speaks to fishing in your own pond. These are not your regular real estate investors that are investing in a 10 or 15 different deals and they're in and out of them all the time. These are people that really only invest with Tim Bratz, because once they start investing with other people, they're going to realize, look, there's a lot more opportunity out here than what Tim is offering us. And Tim will argue that he is not being greedy because he doesn't take anything out of the deal until he performs for his investors. So he takes 100% of the profits and puts it back into the deal until he reaches a certain return that he promised the investors. So if I promise you, let's say for the sake of argument, I promise you both a pref and a return. Okay. So if I promise you a 5 pref or a 6 pref, and I pay that out quarterly, and then I promise that I'm going to get you a total return of 15% on your money. But once I do, I'm going to pay you out completely. Okay. I'm returning all of your capital first, and then I'm returning your investments. And then once I reach that hurdle, you're out of the deal.
So then it's
The deal
zero.
now belongs to me 100%.
He owns it 100%.
100%. So most of us would say that's not possible. You can't do that. That's not fair. You know, we come up with 1,000 different things, but Tim has been doing it for a long time. And the reason he's able to do it is he's fishing in his own pond. The people he's pitching to don't invest anywhere else. They only invest with Tim.
Jim, have you found syndications where people raise capital and have a combination of pref investors and equity investors? Or is this typically like you underwrite the deal as if all of your capital that you're raising is going towards a preferred return, and then you have another deal where all the capital you're raising is going towards, equity investors?
No, the capital raise doesn't change. It's just how much of it goes toward. Let's say we had that example. So that's, do you guys know Kim Radiker? Trevor, you're the most likely one because she lives down by you.
I don't.
So Kim, that's the way Kim raises money. Okay, so if she needs to raise $10 million, she offers you either of those options. She doesn't care how much of the 10 million are note investors, pref investors, or how much is equity investors. She doesn't care. Well, in her mind, I'm sure she would rather most of you be pref investors. If she can raise the entire amount, just as pref investors, you more or less just capped the amount you have to pay all those investors at, let's say it was a 7 pref. Your cost of capital was just capped at 7%.
So by pref investor, you're not saying minimum return, you're saying this will be
Maximum return
minimum and maximum.
and maximum. Yeah. Yeah. You're locked in. You're locked in. But that might be, and you can sell that either as a return, because that's not guaranteed, or you could sell it as a note. The note is payable. That's like a mortgage. It's pretty much guaranteed.
Jim, what do you think about these pref lenders that are out there like Lone Star, Rob Beardsley, who will put up all the cash and take all of your shares for that pref class? Are you familiar with that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have not done any business with anybody that'll do that. I didn't know that Rob was in that space. But to me, that's cheap money. What is he asking for that money? What does he want?
Depends on the deal, but he generally wants a healthy pref, and he positions himself in front of all the other investors, second tier debt. But yeah, you can juice your returns for the capital raise you're doing that way.
How would it juice your returns? That part confuses me.
Because you don't include it in your capital raise figures for your investor pool. So
oh, you just put it in.
Capital raise.
Okay,
yeah.
You underwrite it as a second loan almost.
Yeah, but you don't have
gotcha.
to worry about DSCR on it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I that's like mezzanine debt. It's pretty much the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that if you can get that, and you're not having to give up too much, then that's a great source of money, a great source of capital.
Yeah.
When I've tried to do it, and I've only tried a few times, they wanted too much. The pref was too high, or they wanted to have the pref and they wanted control of the deal, or they wanted too much in the way of voting rights, or they wanted to be the asset manager. They wanted me to give up too much control of the deal.
Yeah, I'm on a deal that they did a pref thing where you had a choice, because this was a short term. It was basically turning apartments into condos and selling them. So there was no cash flow. So you either got a pref or you got your 30% split of or 70% split at the end. But the problem, the project got stalled because of COVID. They couldn't evict anybody to turn it into a condo. So these guys, they got haven't paid me a penny, but I'm first in line at 11%. And there's about $1.5 million out of 3 million. So they've racked up tons of interest owed before they can continue. So that one's really biting this deal in the butt.
But Jim, isn't it? Doesn't Kenton Johnson? Doesn't he do what Krellin just explained?
I'm drawing a blank on Kenton Johnson.
Yeah, Kenton Johnson. He's a member of the GOB, and I thought he said he spoke with you.
Kenton or Ken?
Yeah. It's Kenton.
Hold on.
He may call himself Ken, but he's Kenton Johnson, and he's into money. And I met him. I met him because he reached out to me. No, I met him because of another meeting, and he's into the money, where he could help. Sound like it's similar to what Krellin is explaining. So that's interesting. And
is this somebody that's new to the platform, Daryl?
Yeah, he's new to the platform.
Yeah, somebody else led him, invited him to Slack. I don't think he's on the platform.
Okay.
And
that was
he's on
me.
Slack, And
That
I
was me
think,
that invited him to Slack.
okay, and he is already, he's already posting that they're interested in these kind of partnerships. I think he already made a couple of posts, but I don't think that I've had a discussion with him yet.
Okay. Well, I need to get that set up.
Hey Jim, back to that, back to those pref investors. Do they still get to take advantage of the pass-through depreciation and all of those other benefits that you otherwise would if you were an equity partner?
If they're a pref investor and not a note investor. So if you're a note investor, you don't really own real estate. You're just loaning money out on a note or a mortgage. You know, think of yourself as a bank. The bank doesn't get any of the depreciation. You know, you, the investor, get all the depreciation. So that's one reason you would choose a note. Might be safer money, and grandma might not need depreciation. So she might be better off to be a note investor and have that kind of guarantee. The pref investor is always taking a chance that the property doesn't make enough money to pay his pref. Now he knows he's first in line, but let's just say for the sake of argument, you offered a 7 pref and you fell short of that every year. And then when you sold, you had to make him whole, make that person whole. And there wasn't enough money even in the sale to make him whole. Well, you just had a property, operated it for 5 years, sold it, and you never made a dime. And the pref investor actually lost money in his mind because he didn't reach his minimum pref. And that, as unlikely as it sounds, happens all the time. You know, we can get very optimistic about our returns. And where I see it happening mostly is on smaller deals that are usually private. They're not usually syndicated deals. They're usually happening inside a RIA, you know, a local investing club. And you see, you know, somebody up in front of the group pitching a deal that they're working on. They need a partner. You know, the partner says, we'll go 50-50, but I need a pref, you know, and you offer the pref, and you're the person who brought the deal. You're the person running the deal, but you've never run a deal before. And now all your cost overruns, all the things you didn't underwrite for, all the things you didn't know. And the next thing you know, you're just selling the deal, trying to get out from under something that you're spending 30 hours a week working on. And you're actually not making a dime. You might even be putting some money into it, trying to make it work. And at the end, you don't make a dime.
Well, and that's the argument against using or offering preferred returns. And those GPs that don't offer it state that oftentimes a preferred return can create a misalignment of interests. If the sponsorship team isn't going to make any money, are they going to quit working the deal effectively? And then as the limited partner who has this pref, is he at more risk because the sponsor is not going to make any money? And that seems to me to be the argument I hear from the people that don't offer the prefs.
Yeah.
And so how often, what's the breakdown of deals with prefs, deals without prefs?
I still think the vast majority, if we're going to say inside our silo, and let's include everybody that we know, plus everybody that's in a program, Rod Cleave, Neil Bawood, Sumrock, all the different people, Grant Cardone, all of the real estate guys, everybody in this silo. If you put us all into a bucket, I bet you 70% of them are pref deals, pref plus equity. But that means 30% of them are not. And the 30% that are not, they use that argument, but is it a valid, legitimate argument, or is it a false narrative? And to be honest with you, I haven't sat down long enough to really have a real deep philosophical conversation with myself to really answer that. I definitely see both sides of the table of the equation.
And it seems like ultimately it's going to be supply and demand. What do the investors want? And if they're familiar, if they're somewhat experienced and they understand what that means, or even if they don't, if you're explaining to investors, hey, you get paid before I do because of this preferred return, is that going to give them extra confidence as opposed to somebody that tries to explain why not to do it?
Yeah, I think that generally that's why prefs are offered. It does give I think it gives a false sense of security.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it's false is you just hit the nail on the head, which is as long as the deal is doing well, the sponsor will continue working hard on the deal. The moment the sponsor's putting more time than money, it's not an equal value proposition for him, then that's when you can get in trouble.
It would be hard going in at the beginning of the deal and you're raising money and saying, well, we don't offer a pref because if the deal doesn't perform, I'm not going to work as hard on it. You're going to lose even more money. That argument wouldn't go very far.
No, yeah, that's something, the intellectual argument within your own head. Yeah, you'll never, ever hear a sponsor come out and say that to potential investors. Yeah. But you will hear the ones not offering the pref, they'll say it because they don't want to offer the pref. So why would you not want to offer a pref? And the answer is you do theoretically, it puts you on more of an equal playing field with your investors. Mm-hmm. You both have the same potential upside. You both have the same potential downside. With a pref, you, the investor, have an advantage over me. I'm doing all the work, but you're getting paid first.
And it also can demonstrate, hey, I got faith in this deal. I'm willing to give a pref. I have faith in the deal and my ability to do it. Wouldn't it play that way a little better than our interests are aligned, good or bad? Those
are both arguments that if you're offering the pref, that will be your argument, one of your arguments.
Yeah.
But if you're not offering the pref, I would say to you, well, don't you think that's deal specific? And let me see your underwriting. You're promised me a 7 pref, but your first year underwriting only shows 5% return. And you're saying you'll carry it over to the second year, but the second year it barely makes the 7. So you're not able to pay the catch up. And the third year is at 8, you still got to pay me the 7. That only leaves you 1% to make up for the catch up in the first year. So the reality is you're really not going to pay me a 7 pref. So why are you promising me a 7 pref?
Yeah, good point.
So I can't answer the question without looking at your underwriting, but if you're offering me a 7 pref, shouldn't it stand to reason that your underwriting shows a 7 pref the first year?
Yeah, it should.
And it really depends on the deal, because what if, I'll be honest with you, any value add deal in reality should never pay out any sooner than 6 months. And most of them will not pay out the first year. In other words, the first payment will be at the anniversary, so to speak.
Okay.
And then after that, you can see pref start to rise very rapidly, but also the pref rising very rapidly, you need to make sure it's not because of IO or because of a refinance. So these are things that we can talk about all day long about our deals or about why that deal looks good or doesn't look good to us. But the reality is most investors don't dig that deep into the underwriting. They don't ask those questions. There are a few. If you've got 50 people on a call, I guarantee you there'll be 1 or 2 that'll ask those tough questions. But most of the other people, that'll go right over their head. They'll kind of glaze over and not even know what you're talking about.
They won't understand it. Yeah.
They're really buying you, Chris. You know, you're telling them you're going to get them a 10% return, and they're believing you. You've convinced them, they're believing you. And they don't understand how you're going to do it. They understand it's with real estate, and they understand it's you're going to try to raise rents by improving the property. But any deeper than that, most of them don't. You know, they don't know enough to say, okay, how can you prove to me that you're going to be able to raise the rents by $150? Show me the comps. No, don't just show me on a slide. I want to physically see proof. Number one, what's the square footage? What's the age? How far away is it? When did they last raise rents? Is this a rehab unit, a non-rehab unit? Do they have any amenities that I don't have? You know, is it a lot closer to some big attraction than the others are? You know, digging into that level of understanding in the pitch deck, you just 90% of investors are not going to do it.
But you get the few that
You
understand
get the
it.
few. You're going to have to answer those questions for the few.
Yeah.
If you're lucky on your webinar, you won't have to answer all of those questions. You'll do it one-on-one on the follow-ups. That's why you'll see a lot of sponsors on the webinar saying that's a really in-depth question. It's going to require a lot more time than we have tonight. Will you drop your name in the chat and let's have a conversation tomorrow?
Good.
And that allows them to not, if you start opening the Pandora's box, so to speak, then you could wind up scaring off a lot of the other investors. So really in-depth questions, I've never seen answered on a webinar.
Good to know. And some control that where nobody can even see the questions except the moderators.
Yeah, the vast majority of them do. So you don't even really know if there's somebody on the other side of that question.
Yeah.
Very few of them will make it a live Q&A. Very, very few.
So I've got another question related to prefs and what is seen most commonly. I know that there's two ways to offer a pref, with or without the GP catch-up. So say you offer a 7% pref to the LP. Once that's met, then you go to your 70-30 split with everything beyond that. Or once that 7% pref is made, the GP catches up to whatever their share should have been on that. And then you start your 70-30 split or whatever it is. What is seen most commonly? And does anyone know what the SDA is?
What the SDA is?
Yeah, the Michael Blanc's SDA, Syndicated Deal Analyzer, which
Yeah.
method that uses for its pref calculation?
Well, the SDA does not offer a clawback in the underwriting, as far as I know.
Okay.
And Daryl would be the go-to person to ask on this call. He's got, I think, the most experience with the SDA, but I've never seen clawback. That's what you're describing is a type of waterfall that most people call a clawback, allowing that sponsor to get paid or caught up and made whole before you start paying out the normal returns. So that in essence is like what we talked about earlier, which is like you're at 7 pref, you're not going to get paid any more or any less. That's all you're getting paid until I get my share also. Then we'll start to split. And the only person I know in the industry right now that regularly, he doesn't talk about it in a conference. As far as I know, I've never heard him talk about it in a conference or even on a call, a meetup type call. But if you're having discussions with him privately and you're trying to do a deal with him, then he'll tell you, this is what I'm going to do. You know, and so that's Neil Bawa. Neil is real big about doing clawbacks and making sure he gets his piece.
Yeah, that's where I learned about it.
So, Well, gentlemen, who else has, we're coming up here. We've got 3 minutes left. It's
Yeah.
the countdown on the breakout room. Can't let there be silence.
Well, good info, good convo today.
Hey Jim, I was thinking about I know it's kind of off topic, but I was thinking about maybe tomorrow having the first clubhouse room on GOB network. At probably like 6. I know you have an underwriting class. I have my own meetup, but this is a welcome one, just to welcome everybody to the GOB network on Clubhouse. So if anybody has Clubhouse,
Yeah, I would encourage everyone who has an Apple device to jump on, and take advantage of, the momentum we have started in the, and I will tell you guys, we're getting a lot of attention. So I've had a couple of pretty big names reach out to me recently, some giving us kudos and some not so happy about what we're doing. And so, you guys need to take advantage of that exposure, and I think Clubhouse is a space that we haven't taken advantage of it yet. So if Aaron's going to open a room or have I don't even know the right terminology. If he's going to have a session or a meetup or whatever, I would encourage everybody to be there. Unfortunately, I don't have it.
anybody can have a room. Anybody can have their own room on Clubhouse. So, just let me know and I open up to the public. So if you guys want to have your own personal room for GOB Network banner, just let me know. It's not the Aaron Goins show. This is a group setting. So I definitely want anybody to have their own room to, talk about anything that you want to talk about for, real estate. So.
Yep.
You can have the
When was that going to be?
Windy City Open, Chris.
What's that?
You had the Windy City GOB network, on Clubhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. We're gonna say K Trevor?
When were you going to do that? The Clubhouse?
Think about tomorrow. So I would say 6 Eastern time. Yeah, 6 Eastern time. And
Okay.
I'll just put the banner says welcome GOB network to Clubhouse, something like that. And just
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been doing it much. I turned off the notifications, but I just followed you, and I'll try to watch for that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's just try to, let everybody know. I put it on Slack already. We was talking. I'll put it on the general on Slack in a minute. But
Are you doing, Aaron, are you doing your meetup tomorrow at 4?
Yes. Yeah, Julianne Pearson will be my guest speaker. So yeah, my meetup is
So
at
when you said 6, did you mean 6
Eastern time.
6 Eastern time,
Right.
which would be 3 o'clock your time?
Yes.
Okay. So before
For my meetup.
Eastern would be 5 o'clock. Okay. All right. So that's an hour before your meetup. Okay. I got you.
Right. So I'll probably end around like 6:55. It's just introduction, and then hopefully that will have other members want to be part of this and start their own rooms. So then we can get a schedule going that everybody has a day to have their own room and talk and go from there. So I just want members to join and have their own rooms and talk. So.
Yeah, Aaron, I'll talk about that with some of my partners for Windy City REI. I think the biggest thing right now is, trying to get our systems in place to try and, automate things that we can automate to free up a little bit more time to take on more stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, once we're able to kind of get that sorted out, I'll definitely be reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk on Slack, talk on, on the phone, whatever. Yeah. I'll be putting the rules out for GOB pretty soon too. I'm just gonna copy and paste what somebody else did, basically, and just have it for us. So no cussing, no none of that stuff right there. Just respect each other's comments and try to help each other out. I mean, I have my own. Matter of fact, I'll be on my own under the Veterans Network. I have a real estate one at 5:30 Eastern time, where we talk about all things real estate in the military. you know, so same kind of thing for, you know, GOB networking. Just talk all things real estate and go from there. So.
My friend, my wife's best friend, and a really good family friend, she's in the C-suite for some corporation, I don't know, some national corporation, and she deals mostly with the analytics. And she knows what I do. And so she was all excited last night, and she said, I'm on Clubhouse, and I'm in a room with Grant Cardone, and getting really excited. And we were on, I think it was during Julie, it might have been during Julie's call. I know I was on a call. I can't remember whose call. And about 15 minutes later, she goes, "This guy's an ass." And about 5 minutes after that, she goes, "This guy's not only an ass, but he you know, I think he's a liar and an ass." And I just said, yeah, he makes his mark by being very controversial. You either love him or hate him. So I said, I think I know which class you're falling into. But he's he gets a lot of attention, doesn't care how he gets it, good or bad.
They make his money.
All right, gentlemen, let's we don't have anything else. Let's just call it quits. I'll see
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
All right, guys. Good seeing you guys. Take care.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
Yeah.
I have something on the schedule, and I didn't get, let me check it real quick. Are we on for a call today?
Which Chris?
Chris Pauling.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right,
Have a good afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys checked yes. Okay, all right.
I have you down for 2 o'clock our time.
Okay, yeah, in a few more hours. So just a real quick heads up. It's about the Warner Robins deal,
Okay.
and just wanted to check in with you guys and see if you're still interested in that deal and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and we need to talk to Krellin about it.
Okay.
Because he's more knowledgeable about it than I am, but I don't know where we're at on it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a heads up so you guys know what it is I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, talk to you soon.
All right, see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.